Okay, we're live, but we got to let it breathe just for a moment. Everybody knows the drill. Everyone knows the rules and how this works. We got to wait for 5 green check marks, and we're almost there. Hold your horses, and we're good. Welcome in, everybody, to the Huddle Up podcast, presented, as always, by Mile High Huddle. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me is my fellow football priest and the deputy editor of milehighhuddle.com, Zack Kelberman. Zack, we got a lot of juicy topics to get to tonight, but to kind of open things up a little bit more lighthearted, the Denver Broncos unveiled what the new players, from the rookies to the free agents to the trade acquisitions like Teddy Bridgewater, what jersey numbers everyone is going to be wearing. And that includes, of course, the new allowances that have been made in the NFL rules for non-specialists and non-QBs to wear single-digit numbers on their jersey. So I don't know if you got a chance to look at the full gamut of what everybody's wearing. We'll go through it, but anything jump out at you?
As I told you before we went on, I really don't care about jersey numbers, Chad. You're going to have to do the heavy lifting for this segment because I really have no investment one way or the other. I did notice that Surtain took Kendall Hinton's number, the 2020 MVP Kendall Hinton. Caden Stearns took Phillip Lindsay's number, but these are just jerseys. And me, for one, I might sound like the Grinch or the old man yelling on the lawn at a cloud. I don't like the single-digit jersey numbers. I like the old way. This was a change for the sake of making change, and that's what the NFL does best, unfortunately.
I thought it was cool that, you know what, college, it's like a coming of age when you go from college to the pros, that, you know, there's certain things that you got to do in the pro way. And look, if you're a wide out or a corner wearing a single digit number, maybe that was your jam in high school, maybe that was your jam in college, but it's not going to fly. I'm inclined to agree with you, but this thing is continuing to change. Let me just run through this for everybody. We want your thoughts on what numbers you think are going to really pop here. For your 2021 draft class, Pat Surtain, he took the number 2. Running back Javonte Williams took number 33, which I thought was kind of curious. Quinn Miners took number 77, made most famous in Denver by, of course, great linebacker Carl Mecklenburg. Baron Browning wears a dope linebacker number. He's going to wear 56. Caden Stearns taking over the old Terrell Davis, David Bruton, Phillip Lindsay number of 30. Jamar Johnson, the safety, 41. The wideout, Seth Williams, 19. The corner, Kerry Vincent, number 35. Edge rusher, Jonathan Cooper, number 53. Here's kind of a weird one. Maybe they don't expect him to make the team. I don't know. Marquise Spencer, the 7th-round pick, number 51, Zach, and then a couple others real quick. The free agent and trade, so the veterans, Teddy Bridgewater, surprise, surprise, taking his traditional number 5. Ronald Darby, free agent corner, taking number 21. Kyle Fuller, taking 23. So Michael Ojemudia vacated his number. We'll get to that here in just a second. Taking 23. Mike Boone, a dope number for a running back in Denver, 26. Clinton Portis, Tatum Bell, some good running backs have worn that number in Denver. Natrez Patrick, number 57, the linebacker. The tight end, Eric Sobert, number 82. Isaiah Mack, the defensive tackle, 97. And then Shamar Stephen, 99. And then here's the change numbers. All right, KJ Hamler went from 13 to 1. Kendall Hinton, vacating number 2, of course, to Patrick Surtain, number 9 now. Ojemudia is going to wear what KJ Hamler was wearing, number 13. And then Nate Hairston, the veteran corner, number 27, Zach.
I forgot that Nate Hairston was still part of the Broncos, Chad, all the cornerbacks they have now. Nothing really jumps out to me. Like I said, KJ Hamler, number 1 is kind of cool for a receiver, especially a speedy wide receiver. Ronald Darby, though, rocking a Keep to Leaves 21. I thought that's a little interesting. But to me, maybe, again, I'm just being ornery tonight, but jersey numbers, especially these jersey numbers, with all the changes, don't do much for me. So
here's kind of a look at, I mean, as close to we'll get for now what they'll look like in the flesh. But it's still, to me, man, seeing wide receivers and corners wearing single-digit numbers, that's gonna take some getting used to. But nevertheless, gang, we have a really fun show planned for you tonight. Of course, it's an impromptu. We usually save our Wednesday show for our superstar segments, but we're making a special exception, a special dispensation for In the Shop with Willie, because we've had some scheduling snafus that were my fault, and Willie was kind enough to roll with those punches and make some time for us tonight. So we can't wait to talk to him about some of these hot button issues. We're going to get to that. We're going to get to the latest, what James Palmer had to say recently, his report on the odds of not only Aaron Rodgers getting dealt, Zach, from Green Bay, and your story on this, but also where the Broncos, how the Broncos factor in, what's going on there. We're going to get to all that here in just a second. First, though, we got to run through some quick matters of business. Guys, make sure you're following the podcast on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod, and then our main account at Mile High Huddle. If you are following those two accounts, you're not going to miss anything relative to the shows, relative to breaking Broncos news and analysis. Also, follow our producer. He's back in the saddle gang. He's on the ones, he's on the twos, Buona Beast, at John K. MHH on Twitter. My partner, Zack Kelberman, at Kelberman NFL. Myself, at Chad and Jensen. And then, hey, consider becoming a supporter on Facebook. All right, go to our main Mile High Huddle Facebook page. There's about 95,000 people following that page. You'll see the big blue button, become a supporter. Click that. You're in like Flynn. You get access to Kelberman's Corner, which is every Sunday at noon. You get access to the Trickle Zone every Saturday at noon Mountain Time. Plus, we're continuing to roll out new shows and unique content specifically for our super supporters over there on Facebook. So check that out when you get some time. Also, the merch store, guys. Get yourself a hat. Get yourself a T-shirt at huddleuppod.com. Get your swag on. It's another way to support the brand, support what we are doing here at MHH. And if you're not in a position to do those things, it's all good. We're seriously just stoked to have you with us. We do ask that you subscribe. Make sure you are subscribed, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods, iHeart, wherever you enjoy the show. Just make sure you're subscribed. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, those two channels in particular, please make sure you like this video. Even if you only have the time to hang out for 5 minutes of the show, give it a quick like, because that's the best way to guarantee that this content will get in front of other Broncos fans like you, but are ignorant of the MHH community that's waiting to embrace them, waiting to fold them in and rock and roll in Broncos country. And then 3, hey, look, if you respect the effort, share this video out there and help us continue to grow and reach those new like-minded Broncos fans just like you. And Zach, real quick here, before we bring on Willie, I just want to shout out Diamond Rattler sending us a very, very nice, very cool, very painstaking, it's a necklace, but it's a memento. This is something that's going to end up on the wall in my office as soon as my office is done being built, which is very, very soon. And we'll do like some behind the scenes on this office. It's going to be pretty dope. But anyway, very painstaking. Diamond Rattler, props to you. I cannot believe that, the time it must have taken to do this, the passion that went into that. Really appreciate it. Very cool. Very close to our heart here at MHH. So thank you very much, my friend. Seriously, very impressed and blown away. So, all right, without further ado, Zach, let's bring on the man, the myth, the legend, Willie. In the shop with Willie, in the house with us now, rocking a very appropriate Drew Lock t-shirt. All right. Willie, seriously, thanks for rolling with the punches, as I mentioned, getting you scheduled, making some time for us tonight. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm pretty good. How are you guys?
Excellent.
We too are rolling with the punches, but we're living the dream. We're living the dream thanks to our great community. It's great to see you. So first things first, we want to get we'll ask you some of the questions we like to ask about just kind of how you became a Broncos fan, and some of your favorite moments and stuff like that. But first things first, obviously you're a supporter of Drew Lock. That's most literally obvious. But what are your thoughts on the idea of Aaron Rodgers? Because there are new reports every day, something new is coming out. Many signs, many little evidences and breadcrumbs on the trail pointing to Aaron Rodgers perhaps landing in Denver. As a Broncos fan, as a Drew Lock supporter, what is your take on that subject?
I believe the reports. I believe the people that are saying that the odds are pretty solid that he comes to Denver. I do not want him here. I think he's a cancer to the locker room in Green Bay, and I don't think this young of a roster could handle that. I just don't. And it would take way too much to get him, in my opinion.
Willie, I'm kind of going to change it up a little bit. I know you're a Lock supporter, as are we. I kind of want your opinion, though. Break down Drew's game for me. What do you think are his strongest suits? What do you think he has to improve on going into the season to take hold of that spot that we all know, us three at least know, is possible for Drew given his arm talent? But what do you think is the pros and the cons to a Drew Lock-led offense this coming season?
Well, obviously his footwork needs to get better. That's just the way it is. But I think the best thing he's got going for him is his arm, and he needs to be able to use that more accurately. And if he's got a huge arm, he needs to be more accurate with deep passes for sure. And I think having Cortland Sutton back will be a major bonus on that one. I think it affected him more last year than most people want to give him credit for. But I think his footwork needs to get better, and obviously his decision-making when he's trying to play hero ball just needs to get better.
He's got to learn how to walk that razor's edge, of being smart and managing the game and taking those chances and capitalizing on those opportunities when they arise. But let me ask you this, all right? With Aaron Rodgers, we have a super chat here from Seth Harmon. Seth, thank you for the super, my friend. You have been an absolute stud lately. Keep it coming, my brother. We really appreciate it. His question for us is, what players would you trade for Aaron Rodgers? Now, Zach, Willie, there are a few different packages that have floated around out there. Everything from, CBS Sports speculating three first rounders, a couple of twos. Hey, throw in a Bradley Chubb, throw in a Graham Glasgow, or throw in a Jerry Jeudy or Noah Fant too. I think it was Troy Rank last week reporting that no, 2 1s, 1 2, and maybe young cornerstone player, to even newer packages we're hearing about today. For example, Zach, that you referenced in the green room. Willie, if there was a package that you'd be willing to accept to land Aaron Rodgers, I know you're not a big fan of the idea, but is there a player that you'd be willing to part with? Obviously it would take a couple of high round picks as well.
Teddy Bridgewater. And that's it. The list is short. There's a couple other young players that I'd be okay with, but there's not many.
How about you, Zach?
I more or less agree with Willie. I don't think I'm as staunchly against it, but Tim Patrick would be, I think, my limit as to where I would go. Maybe like a Malik Reed type, but the latest rumor involves KJ Hamler and Teddy Bridgewater on top of 2 first-round picks, on top of a second-rounder, on top of a conditional 4th. To me, as the expression you like to use all the time, it's just a bridge too far for a 38-year-old quarterback. He is as good as he's ever going to be, and probably his past is going to be behind him now going forward, but he's still 38. That is the bottom line. You can't change that. You can't mask that. You can't hide that. That's the downside to me.
There's 3 things about Rodgers. And by the way, Kane Dawson, appreciate the super. Another phrase that we like to use on this show, the juice ain't worth the Rodgers squeeze. Appreciate the support, my friend. There's 3 things about Rodgers that give me some pause. Why it's not just an automatic here, take our firstborn kid. Thank you, please. Aaron Rodgers is now a Bronco. Number 1, the age, which you did a good job elucidating there. How many years do you get with Aaron? Is it 3? Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it maybe 4? Is it maybe 5? He's going to want a new contract. All right, that's number 2. You're going to have to make some additional room on the salary cap. And the good news is, if you're an Aaron Rodgers truther, Broncos have the cap flexibility right now to accommodate Aaron Rodgers a new contract. All right, here's this 3rd thing. That collarbone. I worry about that collarbone because he's fractured it. He's injured that, caused him to miss time at least twice in his NFL career. All right. And then, Willie, you brought up something that's also a concern, which is he a cancer? Now, I'm not convinced that he's a cancer. All right. To quote you exactly, Willie. But as I've said on this show before, he's a little bit weird. He's known for being a little bit of kind of a, he's just a different duck, marches to the beat of his own drummer, so to speak. But those are the big downsides as I see it, Willie.
I agree. And, my biggest takeaway is if we were going to give up that much for Aaron Rodgers, we should have, before all the allegations, given up the same amount for Deshaun Watson instead. We were complaining about people saying that we had a good 10 years with Deshaun Watson, and with Aaron Rodgers, we've got like 3. So before we were criticizing the Deshaun Watson deal, who is a much more long-term player.
Right.
We just don't have the upside with Aaron Rodgers except maybe 3 years. That's all I'm going to say that he's got that's viable left. He's not Tom Brady.
I agree with that. And I saw a comment that says, and I really like Jeremy Shaw. He's a good commentator, good listener, and good fan of the show. But Rodgers is not a top 5 all-time quarterback. That's not fact. That's your opinion, Jeremy. And, you give up. If Brady was available, you would give up these draft picks. But like Willie just said, he's not Brady. I mean, he has 1 title to his name. He's choked more in the playoffs than people realize. And if you're going to give up franchise-altering capital, like Willie elucidated just right then, at least let it be for a player who's 26. like Deshaun Watson, not 38 like A-Rod.
Indeed. Let me grab this super from Tom up in Canada. Appreciate you, brother. You have just been on fire lately. Keep it coming. He says, stick to the program. Don't need Rodgers. 2 to 3 years with Rodgers and then back to the QB carousel. Stick with the program and let Locke progress. He'll win you 10 to 12 games a year and be here for at least 10 years. Thank you, Tom. Here's an interesting point on this very subject, Willie, that I want to serve over to you. Little Birdie told me today that the Denver Broncos are very, let's just say, confident that Drew Lock, it's going to be a competition of some sort. We're hearing 50-50. We'll see if it shakes out that way. But he's going to have to compete. He's going to have to sing for a suffer. But the Broncos are very confident that the Drew Lock of 2020, this year's version of Drew, is going to be significantly improved over 2020. And I think you can point to just more years in the league, maturation, time on task. But I think the biggest thing they're banking on, Willie, is having the same offensive coordinator 2 years in a row. And, that's really, I think, the bottom line thing that the Broncos are banking on in terms of him potentially turning the corner. But it's going to have to happen in camp. He's going to have to vanquish Teddy Bridgewater. So do you expect to see Drew Lock, if it is indeed an open competition, emerge as the victor over Teddy?
I don't even think it's close. I think Drew obviously is the one that would win that in a legitimate competition. I think Teddy's ceiling is about a little higher than Drew's floor. I don't think his ceiling is there. I think they understand that. And you said it was a little birdie that told you that. I don't really think that it's been a little birdie. I think Paton's been saying exactly that for months now. He's confident in the QB room, and we need to actually believe him because I think he's been spot on. Like we called forever ago, we weren't drafting a quarterback in the first round, and look, we didn't. He's confident in the QB room, and he wasn't lying when he said it.
Yeah, instead of a little birdie, it's been a vulture just squawking from 100 feet up in the air about the Broncos quarterbacks. But Mike has a question for you, Willie. Do you have a favorite Drew Lock moment?
The Texans game. I really liked the Texans game. I was a big fan of that. Because I was pretty skeptical of him coming in because we're already having a rocky year, and I didn't expect a rookie to come in and change anything. And then he just lit it up the Texans game, and then we were all calling for Scangarella's job because he was way too conservative with every game plan he ever had. But
little did we know what was coming the next year.
Yeah, little did we know. So probably the entire Texans game or the 2 deep balls to Hamler in the Panthers game.
Willie, let's get off the quarterback subject for just a second. Tell us about George Paton in your estimation. I think he's done a bang-up job in his first year as GM. How would you categorize his ability as Elway's successor? What's been your favorite move he's made, and what's been your least favorite move that he's made or hasn't made?
My least favorite, we'll start there, would be getting rid of Lindsey. Let's be honest, I would have rather seen Shermer go.
Agreed there.
It's his offense is so 1999, and we don't have any of that. So I just don't think it's any good. But my favorite move of his would probably be not drafting a quarterback at 9.
All right, Willie.
I didn't want one.
Last one for you, my friend. All right, now it's up to you if you would like to, tell people where you live. But I'll just say this: you're one of the great members of our community that exemplify the hashtag state of being. Right, Broncos country is not a geographic location; it is a state of being. And so, being that you're not from Denver, or at least you're not living in Denver, how did you become such a dedicated, passionate, hardcore fan of the Broncos?
I live 2 hours straight north of Kansas City, so I am in the heart of Chiefs country, and I cannot stand Chiefs fans. So that really helps. So being a fan of a rival team helped. But growing up, my brother and his best friend were both Broncos fans, and I am a huge Shannon Sharp fan, even though he's kind of a Chiefs fan now. But I'm a huge Shannon Sharp fan, and it really helped. I'm only 24, so I missed most of the early success that would have been like right the year I was born or a couple years after I was born. So I missed all that, and I I've just been a big fan of, I guess, everything recent. I wasn't a fan of the Peyton Manning signing originally, but sort of it grew on me. Obviously, it kind of forced itself on me. But, not really a whole lot of options there. But I just sort of grew up with everybody older than me was a Broncos fan, and it just sort of trickled down to me.
Osmosis, as it so often works. Well, Willie, hey man, really fun talking with you. Really appreciate your insights on some of these key issues, even though it'll have some of the Aaron Rodgers truthers in the chat getting a little uptight and a little, I'm sure they'll take exception to a few of the things you said. But from the bottom of our hearts, thank you, my friend. We appreciate everything you do for our community and supporting the show, supporting all the shows, supporting the channel. So thank you very much. Your T-shirt is officially, that order is in. You should see it, I don't know, probably a week or so. But Willie, thank you so much, my friend, and we will talk with you soon.
Thank you. Later, guys.
Thanks,
there he
Willie.
goes. In the shop with Willie from the top rope. I thought it was interesting. Now, listen, I'm not quite as, I'm not quite as hardcore on the anti-Aaron Rodgers thing. I could be totally amenable to an Aaron Rodgers trade depending on the cost. And that's as a guy who believes, in Drew Lock's ceiling, that he still hasn't gotten there, that the best could be yet to come from Drew. But nevertheless, Zach, I thought it was interesting because he talked about, hey, look, was it really that big of a surprise that the Broncos didn't take a quarterback? Do you need little birdies telling you things to deduce that the Broncos actually have some confidence in Drew Lock? I love that because that's something, Zach, we've been trying to tell people since long before the draft, that there is some there in terms of how George Paton feels about Drew, how Vic Fangio feels, how Pat Shurmur feels, Mike Shula. They passed on every quarterback. Well, not every, but most of the quarterbacks, right? They didn't draft a quarterback. And you can argue, well, if they really love Drew as much as you're making it out to sound like, there would be none of these ties to every quarterback under the sun that's been made available, on the trade market, from Matthew Stafford to the tangential connection to Carson Wentz. And then here we are, of course, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers. But guys, I'm telling you, if you can land a whale, you get the whale. But the Broncos, they're a lot higher on Drew than people realize.
Well, I really appreciate Willie's honesty and how blunt he was. And as someone who doesn't really shy away from speaking their mind about this, it's not easy approaching the Lock subject in Broncos country, being on Lock's side, being a Druther, as they're called now, apparently, Chad. And I don't know if he's so against the Aaron Rodgers trade. Willie did point out correctly, though, that A-Rod has diva tendencies. And I don't think that's disputable. He does. He's always, like you said, kind of gone his own way, marched to the beat of his own drum, done what he's wanted. His personality's been out there. You can look up the issues with his family and the dynamics and his relationships and all that. I mean, you'd be getting some sort of baggage with him. And I like what he said about Locke. What he said that stuck with me was that he said Teddy's ceiling is just a little higher than Drew's floor. And putting it that way is a real perspective changer for someone in Broncos country who might be an independent or an undecided voter, as they were, Chad, kind of nudging him toward the side of the incumbent because, like we've mentioned, the untapped potential in Drew, you can argue it's there, and it can be abundant.
I think if Teddy has an edge at all, it's in the fact that he, for the most part, he can play things pretty close to the vest in terms of, it's pretty rare that Teddy Bridgewater does much to put your team in a tough situation. Now, last year was kind of the outlier for him. You'd have to go all the way back to his rookie year to find double-digit interceptions in a full season. So if there's anything that he has, Zach, as an edge over Drew, it's if they get going in this open competition, and maybe Drew's doing well in terms of pushing the ball and creating some big plays in training camp, but there are a few picks and a few turnovers that come a little bit, and yet Teddy Bridgewater, maybe not so many big plays downfield, but he's moving the offense up and down. Very few turnovers. That's the one thing that I think for a Vic Fangio who's very much up against the wall in 2021, that could be quite the deciding factor. But otherwise, look, Drew Lock, just from a traits perspective, he and Teddy Bridgewater, it's not really close.
It isn't, and I don't mind Bridgewater as a fail-safe, but keep him as just that, a fail-safe. Keep him as a strict number 2 or break glass in case of emergency. That's what he should be. And he's proven throughout the course of his career. Unfortunately, Bridgewater, he's proven this, given the opportunity, unlike Locke, that he's really not an elite franchise caliber starting quarterback at this level. He is what he is, which is a bridge starter, a guy that can groom a younger guy. But I think Willie said was spot on. Drew's ceiling is indisputably higher if given the opportunity. And if whatever Locke can do to learn from Bridgewater to protect the ball better, that's one thing. But again, we're talking about a guy who threw 15 picks versus a guy who threw 11 picks. So this whole narrative about Teddy Bridgewater being the safe choice and being what Fangio wants, what happens, Chad, if he gets in the game and the defense puts 8 in the box and stops the run and dares Bridgewater to beat you with his arm? I don't think he can do that. But given the opportunity, I think Locke can do that because you can't debate the arm talent.
Definitely a big departure relative to arm talent. Dwayne jumping in, who has become a bona fide superstar in our community. Thank you, Dwayne. You the man. He says, best pod out there. We really, really do appreciate that, brother. And just how, you've really come on strong the last month or so. And it's just been really cool for us to see and just know we appreciate you. Zach, I want to pick your brain here on this latest, on the Aaron Rodgers trail. And of course, this came from James Palmer of NFL Network. Let me get to the quote here in your article, guys. Go read the article. But here's what Palmer said, quote, I've talked to people inside the building who have told me it's a real possibility Aaron Rodgers could end up with the Denver Broncos. Those same people have told me that, remember, deals of this size with players of this nature, MVPs, are difficult to get done. And you don't know if they're going to get done until you get to the finish line. At the same time, you need the Packers to make him available. But let's just talk about how the Broncos are a legitimate landing spot. Remember how aggressive George Paton has been at the quarterback spot and how he's talked about how aggressive he's going to be about improving the quarterback spot? When they heard the news about Aaron Rodgers and his uncomfortable situation with the Green Bay Packers, they started thinking about what a package would be if they were going to try to put something together for Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, the Packers on draft day weren't picking up the phone and talking about those discussions. Close quote for the moment. Zach, we learned, I think it was Peter King talked to the GM, Brian Gutekunst, who said, you know what, only one team called me on Thursday night, the first round of the draft. They called checking on Aaron. I told him no, and that's it. Do you believe that?
I'm sure George Paton made a phone call, and I think that's what Palmer is reporting here, that they're a legitimate landing spot because verifiably Paton made contact with the Packers GM, whose last name I won't butcher any longer. So I all the reports that came out, and if you see my deck there, Chad, it says smoke to fire, because every single report which I've mentioned in this actual report has slowly pointed to the Broncos being the favorite to acquire Rodgers. And why is that? When it's not just one guy or two guys, when it's 3 and 4 and 5 media members and outlets reporting the same thing, obviously there's something there. So I bet Paton made a phone call. I bet the Packers GM said he's probably not going to be available or it's going to take just a massive, massive trade. And then that's when those discussions ended for then. Maybe they said, call us back on June 2nd. Call us back in 3 weeks. Call us back if you don't like your quarterbacks later this summer. So I think there's a lot of truth to this report, but for people to start leapfrogging and assuming it's a done deal, I think that's where I kind of pump the brakes.
All right, so he goes on to say, let me find the quote here. Very few teams have the cap ability to land Aaron Rodgers. The Broncos do. They have the second most cap space in the NFL, and then a lot of teams would have to unload an expensive quarterback to make room for Aaron Rodgers. The Broncos don't have to do that. Teddy Bridgewater, because of the way George Paton played it, they only have him for about $3 or $4 million, and Drew Lock is below that. They don't have these constraints that a lot of other teams have in landing Aaron Rodgers. That makes them a suitable spot, close quote. So that is another one of the selling points. If you're Aaron Rodgers and you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to try and force my way out of Green Bay, where's the plausible, who are the plausible suitors for where I could go next? We know a few of the reasons why he's drawn to Denver, and that is, first of all, his fiance from Boulder, the young talent, defense with a defensive-minded coach set to win now. But, Zach, the fact that George Paton has the salary cap space to maybe open up the checkbook and really make him feel loved as a brand-new Denver Bronco, you got to believe that plays a role in it as well.
Yeah, I was going to say he doesn't really care about the Broncos salary cap space, but he does care about what the Broncos can do for him with that salary cap space. And another reason why the Broncos are intriguing is reportedly he wants to come out west. He's a California boy. He wants to be a little closer to his roots. And the Broncos, like you mentioned, his fiance would offer him that. But also, contrarily, Peter King reported that the Packers GM, Gutekunst, say it right?
Yep.
He is extending an olive branch. He wants these things to work out. King calls it a peace treaty there. But as he noted, both sides are dug in, and both sides, like I've been saying for the last 10 pods, this is all a game right now. It's chicken, and they're going to see which side blinks first, either A-Rod or the Packers.
Indeed. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how this whole soap opera plays out. Even if it doesn't end up playing out to the benefit of the Denver Broncos, it's rather tectonic to see a future Hall of Fame quarterback and the reigning NFL MVP trying to force his way out of what is a winning franchise. Because, look, even when Peyton Manning was released by the Indianapolis Colts back in the spring of 2012, it was on the heels of him missing the entire season. It was on the heels of 4 neck surgeries. And the Colts sucked for luck. I mean, he was coming out of a situation where he was penciled in before the draft as the starting quarterback of a team that went 2-14 the year prior. This is very different, man. The Packers were in the NFC title game. Aaron Rodgers, similar age, a little bit older than Peyton was then. Aaron, 37, turning 38. Peyton was 36, turning 37. But the reigning MVP. Gary, appreciate you, my friend. One of our great Facebook super supporters. He says, I am a George Payton fan, so I'll be okay whether we get Aaron Rodgers or not. Due diligence is his game. Yeah, I mean, George Payton, I think that decision's already been made, Zach. If he gets made available, we're going after him. I think that's going to happen. It's just a matter of if there is a bridge too far in the distance, how far is that bridge? Where does the buck stop in terms of what it would cost the Broncos?
Well, I want to make 2 points real quick. I see more people are comparing. I saw someone calling me out for noting that Rodgers' age makes a trade prohibitive, but they reference Peyton Manning. But let me just again draw the contrast here. Peyton Manning was a free agent. All he did was have to sign on the dotted line. You did not have to give up draft capital to acquire him, and that is huge for George Payton, who would way sooner cut a $150 million check than give up 2 first-round draft picks. And secondly, let me just say this. Even if you're an anti-locker in Broncos country, if they miss out on Aaron Rodgers, we should all be so encouraged and optimistic that the Broncos have a GM who's doing whatever it takes to make this team a playoff and championship contender once again, Chad. From going after quarterbacks, from putting your nose into MVP discussions for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, he's really doing everything he can in year 1, mind you, being a rookie GM, stepping in for John Elway. So even if they don't make this trade, even if they go into the season with Locke and Bridgewater, I think Broncos country should be very happy with having George Payton at the controls.
Willie jumping in with a super chat after gracing us with an appearance on the show. Appreciate you, Willie. Appreciate being brought on, fellas. Forgot to give my shout out to John. Gonna have y'all give that for me. Yep, of course. Shout out to John. Back in the saddle. Feels good having our producer back with us, Zach, after a week off.
Yep.
So yes, shout out to the Buona Beast, to John K. We love John, and we're happy to have him back. So thanks for that, Willie. Michaela in the house, the Duchess of MHH. Appreciate you. She says, welcome back. Hugs to our beast. You were missed. Indeed, Zach, he was missed.
He was, and we're very, very happy to have him back. And we see him down there working diligently, Chad. He won't even look at us down there in the green room. He's working hard, but he sees the love, and he appreciates it, and we appreciate it for him as well.
John, do you see there's another one there's another one from Dwayne. There's one from Christopher. There's one from Doug, Stu, another from Michaela, and then Kane had another one as well, and then Drew, and then King Kirk. So quite a few names that have been skipped that I don't have. The closest one to me is that one from Willie, because my stream just jumped at, 6:42. Zeus in the house. Always a better show when we know we've got the patron saint of Mile High Huddle, Zeus McPeak, in the chat, listening, contributing to the conversation. He says, hi, all. Stu, we love you. We miss you. I hope things are going well. Hope you're thriving out there in Texas. And hope you had a great Mother's Day weekend with your family.
And Stu, as always, I feel like I've said this about a billion times because I have. Thank you so much for your support and your generosity. It means the world to us. And like Chad said, we hope you're doing very, very well.
Indeed. All right, John's getting a few queued up here so that we can catch up. And while he's doing that, I want to scroll through and give some props here to our Twitch audience, like Savage Boy Kev. Appreciate you, brother. He says, I think that Paton brought Bridgewater in to make him feel himself. Regardless, if Teddy beats Locke out, I think Locke was going to start in the first place. So regardless if Teddy beats Locke out, Locke was going to start in the first place. I mean, we'll see how it ultimately shakes out. But I think Locke is going to have the edge. He knows the personnel. He knows the playbook. I mean, Teddy probably knows most of the playbook, too, from his time under Shermer on the sideline. He never really played for Shermer in Minnesota. But still, Locke has the edge. It'll be hard to vanquish him. I know a lot of fans, they want to be dismissive and pretend like Locke is some incompetent fool. But it's not going to be easy for Teddy Bridgewater to vanquish Locke in an open competition.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of Broncos fans, especially anti-Lockers, want to admit this, but I think they brought Teddy in with the idea of him being a backup. I think what they want to do is kind of tilt the competition, if there is one, in Locke's favor because they have invested time and energy and a second-round draft pick in him, whereas they have no investment beyond, $3-4 million in Teddy Bridgewater. He's just a fail-safe, in my opinion. So Locke should win this battle. I think the Broncos want him to win this battle. The only thing I disagree on is if Teddy beats him out, Teddy starts. The best man should be the quarterback this season.
It's going to be really interesting to see how Drew responds to the viable, plausible threat of Teddy Bridgewater. And I remain of the opinion, just based on, I don't know, you can call it gut, you can call it just my own intuition, and who knows? I mean, I've been wrong before, but my intuition on this is that he's going to rise to the occasion. It's been a long time, Zach. It's been a long time since Drew Lock has truly had to sing for his supper in terms of, go back to Missouri, right? He ends up playing a lot as a freshman, and he never really looked back. He was the man in Missouri from that point forward. As a rookie, he had Uncle Joe ahead of him on the depth chart, and by the time Drew actually entered the equation, he wasn't competing with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco was on injured reserve. His competitor was actually Brandon Allen. Was that true, viable NFL caliber competition? No. This will be really the first time in a long time that Drew's kind of been forced into a corner where he's got to sing for that supper. A little competitive anxiety, I think, is good for anybody in any sort of a performance-based profession. And I'm just here to tell you, I do think it's going to have a positive effect on Drew's play. I think it's probably the last factor that the Broncos have yet to use up to this point to really try and use some Bill Parcells coach psychology to bring out that better version, the best possible version of Drew Lock. And if I'm wrong, guys, hey, I'll fall on that sword and I'll eat the crow this time, August, we'll know by end of August.
Yeah, it's put up or shut up time for Drew Lock. And even if he wins this competition, which I also agree, I think he will beat Bridgewater out given a fair opportunity, but he's going to have to keep earning that every single week, Chad. He's past the point of being given anything, grandfathered into anything. He's going to be the starting quarterback on a weekly basis, but that's a good thing for someone like Drew Lock. This is a guy who responds best when he's trapped in a corner and it's fight or flight, and I think he'll fight off a lot of the unwarranted criticism and unwarranted hatred that he's been receiving from the fan base and the media of this past couple years.
Dwayne again, appreciate you, bro. I'm split on the jersey numbers. Just something we'll have to get used to, I guess, talking about the single-digit jerseys.
I hate it.
Yeah, it will be. But, hey, you know what? For Broncos fans like us that, hey, you want to try and find cool different things to maybe, wave, fly the Bronco flag, get yourself a new jersey. Maybe you had a KJ Hamler number 13. Now you can get a KJ Hamler number 1 or get a, brand spanking new Pat Surtain number 2. Who needs not too many Broncos fans need an excuse to go get a new jersey.
Or you can just be happy, you can take apart your Joe Flacco number 5 and make it a Bridgewater. You can get some use out of it instead of washing your car with it.
Absolutely. We got one here from Doug Henninger. Really appreciate you, my friend. That's 2 nights in a row. We've seen you active on Super Chat. So thank you. It was also really cool to see you send us the selfie of the brand new, I think it was Let 'Em Hate, yes, indeed, that you got. He says here, man, I can't wait for a year when we have our QB and there's no speculation about who the guy is. Also, really digging the jersey rule. So, Zach, Doug is digging that new rule. And real quick, let me do I want to show you guys this proud Denver Broncos fan, all right, rocking the Let 'Em Hate like a boss. There he is in the flesh. All right, there's Doug. But appreciate you, Doug.
Well,
Yeah,
now I can't say anything critical because he has a Let Him Hate T-shirt. But I don't like the jersey rules. Maybe I'm a traditionalist at heart. I don't believe in change for the sake of change. I don't know why they decided to do this. It has no bearing on the game whatsoever. It doesn't make the game better. So I don't know.
Another Facebook super supporter, Brad Murdoch, love you, bro. He says, "What's the latest on right tackle?" They had a couple visits set up this week. I thought, yes, indeed, they have visits set up with Dennis Kelly and is Bobby Massey. That's who they're meeting with. And that is, and unless I know one of them is making another visit before they get to Denver. I'm trying to remember which one it is. Either way, one of those two guys, odds are by the end of the week, is getting signed. My money's on Dennis Kelly because what he can do for you in the running game. And he spent most of his career as a swing tackle and then played 16 last year at right tackle for the Titans. Helped pave the way for a 2,000-yard rushing campaign, as you've talked about before, Zach, for Derrick Henry. Juwan James put on the NFI list. I know there was some scuttlebutt. Oh, maybe it's not a season-ending injury. No. That ends his season. That's a nice little foreshadowing, a nice little harbinger of what the Broncos are going to do, which is release him with maybe a settlement to come, but they're not paying him anymore. He's done. Goodbye, 20-some-odd million bucks.
Yeah, bye-bye, Juwan. It was nice having you for 63 snaps. Chad, I agree with you. I think they should sign Dennis Kelly, but there's something nagging inside of me that says they're going to sign Bobby Massey. Something about Fangio's ties to Chicago, Paton's ties to Minnesota, where he watched Massey twice a year. He would come cheaper than Dennis Kelly. I want Kelly, but I do think they will end up signing Bobby Massey. Hope I'm wrong.
Kane Dawson, what's up, buddy? Thanks again. Appreciate you. He says, I hate to say hi and bye. It is what it is, though. All right, buddy. Well,
all good.
It's all good. We appreciate your support. Appreciate you popping in with us, even if for a moment. Zach, while John gets the next one queued up here is an interesting one from Savage Boy Kev. Your thoughts on Tim Tebow's comeback? I'm stoked. So if you guys missed it, Tim Tebow tried out for the Jacksonville Jaguars as a tight end, and they're going to sign him. So the question is, does he stick? And is that really drama you want to flirt with, Zach, when you've got a brand new number 1 overall pick in Trevor Lawrence? You really want to confuse the situation, because the biggest problem NFL teams had with Tim Tebow, believe it or not, it wasn't that he wasn't a great quarterback. It was that he was not a great quarterback that brought A-list celebrity media firestorm with him everywhere he went. So do you really want to deal with that for your 4th or 5th string tight end when you're trying to nurture along and spring a brand new NFL quarterback number 1 pick?
Well, I will say this. I think a lot of it is a publicity stunt. Would he have got this job if the coach wasn't Urban Meyer? No. Would he have got the job if the team wasn't in Jacksonville, where he was close to being, he played in Florida, so that's an area where he was a star? No, that wouldn't happen either. But you don't get that same media circus like you would 10 years ago. I think a lot of that has passed him by with him falling off the NFL map, being in baseball, being an analyst. This isn't like when he was running in the rain with the Jets. This is far removed from that. And I will say this about Tim Tebow. He should have made this move 5-7 years ago, but the Jacksonville Jaguars tight end room is barren. You and I can walk off the street and get an audition right now. So I wouldn't discount Tim Tebow getting a roster spot. Crazier things have happened in the NFL, especially recently, but I'd be shocked if he became the next great tight end at age whatever he is now.
33. And so that's where it's a rare instance where I got to disagree with Zach. I think that he will bring a media firestorm, and I think it's going to very quickly wear thin on these Jacksonville Jaguars by the time you get through training camp. Even if he's pulling his weight as a tight end, it's going to be hard to justify keeping that dude around when everyone wants to talk to Tim Tebow. Now, we'll see how much the media rules are loosened up when camp comes around in terms of access to players and being there in person and being able to request talking to this player or that player, but we'll see. Willie, what's up, dude? Again, thank you, bro. He loves the idea of Tebow coming back as a tight end. And Zach, the irony of the whole thing is when things started to not work out for him as a pro quarterback, everyone was saying, dude, just go be a tight end. You can make it work. And he was like, no, my dream's to be an NFL quarterback. I'm not going to, it's all or nothing. Apparently it's not all or nothing.
I saw a really, really funny tweet. I don't know if I should say it, but it said, his athletic career has been like a Make-A-Wish kid where you want to play quarterback in the NFL? Sure. You want to play baseball? Pick up a bat. You want to come back and play tight end at age 33 for the Jaguars? Might as well. I mean, he's lived out the dream as an athlete, and he's a good person. He really is a great individual, and I think he'll be good for the community. He'll be good for the locker room as long as he's there. I just think it's more of a PR stunt than anything else.
Agreed on that, but I do think it's going to be a little bit of it's going to be fun to watch. I'll just put it that way. Michaela, again, thank you, my friend. She says, I heard Rodgers and Packers talked over the weekend and that they are talking biggest contract ever, Mahomes money. That is why the field's been quiet. Any thoughts? I hadn't read that, Zach. Maybe you had. I hadn't heard that, but if there's anything that's going to sway him back into the saddle, back into the Packers manger, it's making him like the Godfather, right? Like Vito, making him an offer he can't refuse.
Can you put the question back up?
Yeah, about the Packers talking to him over the weekend about a contract that would break the Patrick Mahomes mold.
It's never been about the contract. Reportedly, that's what Peter King said. It's not just about that. There's other things at play, and I think his ego was really sorely bruised from the Jordan Love pick, from him not being briefed on roster moves and personnel moves. It's all ego-driven, not just money-driven. The guy has made, $200 million between endorsements, his contracts, this and that. It's not just money for A-Rod. It's a lot deeper than that.
Nothing rings the bell. This is something one of my mentors in life taught me. Nothing rings the bell like money. So we'll see. Another one. Something, money talks and something walks, right? So we'll see how that shakes out. Christopher, what's up, dude? Up in Canada, jumping in. That's a name we don't recognize, Zach. So, hey, welcome to the Manger, Holmes. Make sure you connect with us on Twitter, and we'd love to shout you out after. Started listening at the tail end of last season. Best ever live pod for the Broncos. Keep it up, Priests and the Beast. State of being, Broncos for life. Appreciate you, Chris.
Thank you.
You the man. All right, let me see here, John. I think from Drew and King Kirk, if you got access to him, then I think that might bring us current to where I'm at in the stream as we sit here at, let's see, we're at 47 minutes. Let me just circle back real quick and double check that. Yeah, so Drew, King Kirk, Jeremy Hancock, Justin Jarvis, and then I'm going to be current. So that's the quartet there. In the meantime, as John's getting that queued up, we've got Drew. He's ready to roll. Here he is. He's been on the show. We love him. He's a superstar. He's a Mount Rushmore superstar. What's up, Drew? He says, y'all know I'm a Lock fan. That said, we can win a Super Bowl with Rodgers. I don't believe he's a cancer in any way. In the last 10 years, Green Bay has drafted 9 defenders in the first and Jordan Love. Yeah, I agree with you, Drew, that, all due respect to Willie, I think a cancer is a little harsh to say that about Aaron, but he's just got some weird picadillos about him. He definitely turned this team from a question mark. Are they going to be a dark horse that kind of goes from worst to first to a bona fide threat, bona fide contender in the AFC?
Even Drew's mom would tell you that A-Rod makes the Broncos a title contender. I don't think that's in question. I think the question is it guaranteed? And Broncos country seems to think if you get another quarterback not named Drew Lock in here, whether it's Deshaun Watson, Fields, Mac Jones, A-Rod, it doesn't matter who you get, you're going to be guaranteed a title. It doesn't work that way. There's no guarantees. You'd be lucky to get 3 years from A-Rod, and in that window, you have to hope he delivers and gives the Broncos a return on investment. So, of course they'd be a contender. Of course they'd be a better team. He's a future Hall of Famer, but it's not a guarantee that you're giving up the farm and the land and the mules and the house and the title and the car for all of that for a guaranteed ring. Peyton Manning was an aberration. That's not the rule.
I mean, really, the closest you can get to a guarantee is Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. And Peyton's done. He's playing his last days in Tampa Bay. Aaron, I like him a lot. I've always thought he's a little bit overrated. You guys have heard me say that on this podcast before. But look, last year he was a transcendent quarterback. He made a lot of hay out of very little. I mean, the weapons, he's got a great, Devontae Adams, trust on that. That's the one go-to. But the supporting cast he had was not like the old days, the 2010 team that won the Super Bowl, not quite of that same caliber. And he ended up having one, if not the best statistical season of his entire career. So even though I might feel like he's a little overrated, I can't say that he's a bona fide guaranteed Super Bowl berth if you sign Aaron Rodgers, because Zach, how many times has he been back to just like within striking distance of the summit, right? NFC title game since 2010, since they won the Super Bowl. I want to say 4 times, but it might be 5. It's been 2 in a row now.
It also lends more credence to the whole point that we make. It takes more than just a quarterback, or else why does he only have 1 title? Why hasn't he even been to more Super Bowls? He's a great quarterback, but it takes more than that. And if he couldn't make it with Matt LaFleur last year, came up short against Brady, what do you realistically think he's going to do with Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur? That's also a question that I've raised that no one really has an answer for.
King Kirk, what's up, dude? Appreciate you. Connect on Twitter, by the way. I don't think we are connected over there. So he says, stick with Locke and our young squad. First time with the same offensive coordinator, young players getting more time together, and Locke has a chip on his shoulder. Give him the chance to prove himself. He gets one more shot. King Kirk, if I had to put money on it today, I would put money on that, Zach, that Drew Lock gets his one last swing at the plate to prove he can be the guy this year. But again, I'm telling you, unless it's just a crazy ask that the Packers have, because look, the one thing no one's really taking into consideration here is Broncos fans start just like assuming that this deal is fait accompli, that it's matter of course, is look, we've heard Mark Davis and the Las Vegas Raiders are really keen on this idea too. John Gruden, Mike Mayock. And if they come throwing redonkulous packages at the Packers, and hey, if you're Aaron Rodgers, that's a pretty stacked offense too. And you're out west as well, and you're in a more media-friendly market in Vegas relative to Denver, he could end up landing there. And Zach, if that's how it shakes out, Broncos fans, again, going to have to console yourself with little old Drew.
Yeah, he's not infallible either. Aaron Rodgers, he can be beaten, as you saw last season, as you've seen in his career. He can be injured, he can be beaten. So in the worst case scenario, this is just fodder right now, but in a worst case scenario, let's say he does end up in Vegas, it's not a guaranteed assertion that he would sweep the Broncos every year. He would win a title out there. Nothing is guaranteed in football. Literally nothing. 0.
And as much as that offense is ready for just that kind of a dynamic trigger man, the Raiders still have a lot of question marks on defense. So you go from the frying pan to the fire if you're Aaron Rodgers. Jeremy, what's up, dude? Appreciate you. He says, I try to support Locke, but if we're down and in a 2-minute drill, I'm way more confident he's going to have a turnover than a touchdown to win. Going to have to do a lot to have full faith in him. No. I think that's fair. Like, I don't have full faith in him. I don't. He still has a lot to prove. I try to stray Zach from double negatives, but he did not leave no doubt last year. He did the opposite. He left doubt. But you know what? He has had some pretty remarkable clutch moments as a starting quarterback in the league. Look, the Texans game, that was a blowout from the get, but his first start against the Chargers, coming in, fish out of water, been sidelined with a thumb all freaking year long. Then he finally gets the chance to start, 2 touchdowns early, and then the Chargers come back, tie it up, has to throw it deep, gets that PI, field goal, get out of there with the win. Plus, look, to come from behind against the Chargers in Week 8 this past season, I get what you're saying, Jeremy, because you kind of feel punch drunk. You don't know if he's going to make a big play or do something that's going to cost the team. But let's just be careful of not pretending that he's never done anything of note in the clutch.
Exactly. And Jeremy, I sympathize with you because I have these same worries about Drew Lock as you do. I'm always waiting for that shoe to drop, whether it's the first play of the game or in the fourth quarter. He's always prone to that turnover. That's not in dispute here. Chad and I and a sect of Broncos country just wants to see what he can do this year. And if he's continuing those mistakes, if he hasn't learned, if he hasn't grown, then get rid of him, banish him, cut him, do whatever you want, get another quarterback in there. But at least all we're saying is let us see if he's improved. Let us see what kind of quarterback the 2021 Drew Lock is and not judging him on 2020 Lock and 2019 Lock.
But Zach, isn't that true for most young quarterbacks? You know, when the chips are down, your heart's in your throat a little bit because you don't know if it's going to be a big play to win it all or a facepalm moment. I mean, he's a young quarterback, guys. He's still sowing his oats. He's still kind of figuring out, as we talked about with Willie, how to walk that razor's edge of being a game manager that takes care of business to also, you know, knowing when and how to take chances and push the ball.
It goes for every player, young quarterback or Patrick Mahomes. I mean, in the Super Bowl, Chad, he was, I know he's missing his O-line and he was hurt himself, but it wasn't a guarantee that every pass he threw was a touchdown. You're still holding your breath on every play because anything can happen on any given down, on any given Sunday. They made a wonderful movie out of it, Chad. My favorite football movie of all time, and it's the truth. Anything can happen on any day in any given snap. That goes for football, it goes for life. Nothing is taken for granted and nothing's guaranteed.
John, real quick, we got after JJ here, we got Call of Duty. We got Tom El Greco again. We got Drew again. We got Dale Rudd. We got Christian. No, we're Christians where we're current. So Call of Duty, Tom, Drew, Dale, and we're good. So Justin Jarvis, appreciate you, bro. I don't get to watch live much due to life with kids, but I'll watch tomorrow morning on my way to work. Thanks for being enablers to my Broncos addiction. Yeah, we're like slinging crack, right? We're the crack version of the NFL. Rodgers or Locke, either way, we're making a run this year. Do you feel that way, Zach? Rodgers or Locke, you see the Broncos make a little noise this year?
I mean, barring the coaching melting down this year, and that's no, guarantee it's not going to happen. Yeah, this roster from top to bottom, offense, defense is loaded. After they did in the signing period, adding the talent they did, the draft they had, drafting for now, drafting for the future. So even if you have a top 5 quarterback in A-Rod or a whatever you want to call him, a bottom half quarterback in Drew Lock, I think this team is set up to have sustained success, and they're going to ground and pound their way to, I think, 9, 10, 11 wins this coming season.
Call of Duty, what's up, dude? Good to have you. Really appreciate your support as always, brother. Successful teams play to the QB strengths, like the Ravens. They need to use more RPOs, more screens, quick throws to the playmakers. Why make him something he isn't? This was one of our big gripes all season long with Pat Shurmur is square peg, round hole. You weren't really trying to scheme not only to Drew's strengths schematically, but Zach, even from a strategic perspective, these are go-tos to get any quarterback, especially a young quarterback, in a rhythm. Get them flowing. Get them, completing some passes, picking up the yards that are there. And there's yards there on almost every single play when a quarterback drops back to pass. It sucked really bad that we very rarely saw just that gut feel for not only what he was dealing with in Drew, but just like flow of the game. That's one of the reasons, Zach, why both you and I have some serious reservations about Pat Shurmur moving forward as the OC. To me, the only thing there is to hang my hat on with regard to Shurmur, optimism-wise, is, hey, man, he's been in the league a long time. He's a former AP Assistant Coach of the Year, and at least Drew will have the same scheme 2 years in a row, and the reverse is true. Pat Shurmur will have the same personnel, the same cue 2 years in a row. So in the same way that we can expect that to benefit Drew, we should expect it to benefit Pat as well.
That also scares me, though, because he can have 10 years in the scheme, but if the scheme is bad, the scheme is bad. And we're getting questions whether the coordinator should call screen passes and RPOs. This isn't 2003. This is 2021, where RPOs, screens, reverses, trickeration is a staple part of an offense, Chad. And that's my worry. I mean, if you watch Kansas City's offense, not every first down is a long 75-yard pass. A lot of the opportunities Patrick Mahomes has on first down is getting 7-8 yard passes, because this might surprise you, working in 2nd and 2 and working in 2nd and 10 makes a world of a difference. It puts your offense in rhythm. It opens up the playbook more. Pat Shurmur has to know that. The fact that he doesn't know that, Chad, is shocking to me, truly shocking.
Tom again, thanks, buddy. He says, Drew Lock, say it with me, guys. Let them hate. Yeah, dude, let them hate. And it's like Jake Plummer said in his conversation with the fan with the Nick and Cecil show, Nick Ferguson, Cecil Lammey last week, that, hopefully Drew Lock has the last laugh. If Drew Lock does have the last laugh, even those who are really down on him, guys, you know what that would mean? Your team's a winning product on the field. So you should be and would hope to be happy to see Drew Lock get the last laugh. It's like with Garrett Bowles. I went from being very, very positive, patient with him those first 2 years to in year 3, man, when it just got the depredations reached just all-time lows, I hopped off that train. And I was right there with Zach saying, this is, this sucks. This is bad. Time to you can't count on Garrett anymore. And
I
then
never said that.
And has an all-pro year. And I was right there to say, look, guys, hey, I was wrong to jump off too soon. And I was happy to be wrong. Hopefully that's the same kind of mindset that the guys who are still and gals who are still skeptical of Drew, maybe even those who might have some of that locked arrangement syndrome, will feel when that day comes.
And Chad, we hope to be right this fall about Drew Lock because it would benefit the Broncos if they don't make an Aaron Rodgers trade for Lock to do well. But if we're wrong, we'll be on here the first very week of the season. If they yank Lock or he bombs, we'll tell you guys at the first drop of a hat. We were wrong about Lock. He does not deserve to be the quarterback of the Broncos any longer, and they should move on. But just let him get to that point. That's all we're saying.
Christian, what's up, dude? Thanks for the super chat. He says, Surtain, number 2. But OJ Moody at 13, I don't love it. Denver Broncos for life. Yeah, it's going to take some getting used to, but I don't think it'll take all that long. I mean, look, both Zach and I, we prefer the traditional way, but that ship has sailed. They're going to more reflect really the way it looks in college now in the NFL.
Yeah, just call him Odell Beckham Jr. All right, moving on.
Tom again, thanks, bro. He says if Locke ends up somewhere else, he'll ball out in the right system. Can't give up on him, guys. Yeah, we agree on that for the most part, buddy. We do. I mean, I think it would be really cool to see. We got that one from Tom. I think it would be really cool to see Drew in a Kyle Shanahan scheme, but I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I would love to see what he can do given a Kellen Moore, Greg Roman, any of these, Matt LaFleur, Cliff Kingsbury, Joe Brady, any of these young up-and-coming coaches, what he can do with a young quarterback, I think he would have just a much, much higher ceiling than Pat Shurmur.
All right, we have officially crossed the 1 hour mark, so we got to kind of rapid fire from here, starting with a great superstar. Dale, what's up, dude? He says, maybe I'm crazy, but for me, Locke is the most promising quarterback in Denver since Paton. So far, I'm confident in what Paton has been doing. Love the pod and facts from MHH. Thank you, John, Chad, and Zach. Appreciate you, Dale. I would even go so far as to say he is the most promising quarterback the Broncos have had since Jay Cutler. That's what I would say. Like Tim Tebow, everyone had hopes and dreams, but like when you saw him out there on the field, you knew that was going to be a short-lived thing. And every quarterback post Cutler to Locke arriving, I really do think you've set Peyton aside. He's a unicorn. Locke is the most promising guy the Broncos have had.
He is, and we hope that the Broncos can get the return on investment that they're seeking and that they should get. But like I said, regardless of what happens this year, Rodgers trade, no Rodgers trade, Locke starting, Bridgewater starting, the entirety of Broncos country, every fan, no matter which aisle you're on, which side you're on in this quarterback debate, we all have to feel encouraged by the job George Paton's doing. I don't think any one of us expected him to come in here and redo the culture in one offseason, import the players, and make his stamp on the team as he had. So I'm very encouraged by the job George Paton's doing, and I'll repeat it again. It was a home run hire by Denver.
Curtis Everett jumping in, a newer name on Super Chat, so welcome. Thank you, Curtis. He says, and connect with us on Twitter, buddy. He says, what's up, boys? What jersey should I get this year? Hey, man, that's up to you, man. That's a personal decision that every Broncos fan has to weigh in the balance. So I don't know. I mean, there's some intriguing ones. I tend to roll in when I've purchased jerseys. I tend to roll with the guys who have at least kind of proven themselves a little bit, so I can feel like my investment is relatively safe, even if they end up hitting free agency and leaving at some point. So that's my overall philosophy, but not everyone agrees with me.
I also tend to get like legendary players, so you're not going to get hurt by them. They're not going to change teams or change numbers. It's a tricky situation right now. I would wait. This is my advice. All these jersey changes, they're not going to be finalized until August, September, training camp at the very soonest. So wait on that a couple more months. Keep it on your mind.
Be careful. All right, let me double check the back end. I think we might be, if not caught up, very close to being completely caught up. And we'll have to say goodbye for tonight. But we've got, John, if you have access to him, we got one more from Willie, Jake, and BNS. And then we'll dip on out of here if you can, because I don't think I see him on my side here. But Yeah, here's one. No, that's not a super. Bear with us, guys. When we're this late, we gotta try and keep it strictly with the super chat superstars, like Willie jumping in again, clarifying something he said on the show. Not all cancers are terminal, but I don't like that drama on a young roster. Still stand by Drew. I still stand by that Drew gets 6 games, balls out, or I'm moving on. Moving on. Amen, dude. Amen. And he's got his emojis. We all know what it means. But yeah, I think if Drew does end up winning the job, and he's going to have to win it in some way, shape, or form. If he does, I think that's probably about the window he'll get, unless Zach, to prove that he's stepping forward and that he has shown improvements and progress. Unless, he has a 2-game slide. If the Broncos lose 2 in a row, and Drew was a big reason for it. Look, man, the Broncos, they've been patient, I think, for a long time. And I don't know that they'll be able to stay that much more patient.
Right.
But, we'll see, because you got a legit defense that's going to be able to force some turnovers with Vaughn back. And, a healthy running game. That's one thing that people are missing in this whole equation is, and then strategically, right, what Paton has been thinking about when he was making those picks. Yeah, you say goodbye to Phillip Lindsay. But you got Melvin back. You got Mike Boone, who's surprisingly scrappy, good, young running back. And you just drafted a guy who could turn out to be one of the top 5 best running backs in this league inside of his 4-year rookie window, and Javonte Williams. Plus, you got the O-line to pave the way. You're just missing that one more piece, which is right tackle, Zach, which is why I think it probably ends up being Dennis Kelly. Now you've got the complete picture, and that can be a running back or a quarterback's best friend.
What's not going to be, though, is if you have a head coach and a coordinator coaching for their jobs this year. So, Willie, I agree with the premise, of course, but I don't think he gets an automatic 6 games. I don't think he gets an automatic anything. Like I mentioned earlier, if he wins the job in a battle with Bridgewater, he's going to be evaluated on a game-by-game basis. Fangio and Shermer cannot afford to spoil a playoff-ready roster this year. So if they go 0-2, 0-3, they're going to have to start thinking about a move to Bridgewater, whether we like it or not. They can't wait 6 games.
By the way, D-Dub, don't worry about it, dude. He's saying he's having problems trying to super chat. Last night you went off the chain. Don't even worry about it, brother. We're just glad to have you with us. Jake, 1 or 2 more, and then we got to go. Starting here with Jake. Appreciate you, bro. He says, I don't care who's quarterback. Just beat the damn Chiefs. Amen. Amen, brother.
If only Case Keenum had better accuracy.
Yeah, that ignominious streak wouldn't quite be so ignominious. All right, last one here from BNS. Good to see you, bro. Hope you've been doing well. He says, Your Eminences, I'm all in if Aaron Rodgers is on the table, but I really believe people are sleeping on Locke. This year, he's driving a Ferrari, not a Geo. # All Pro Bowls from the Bowls News Network. Or no, Bowls. What was it?
News Service.
News Service. Thank you. BNS, love you, bro. Yeah, I mean, I think this year the stars are aligning. So if Drew does end up winning the gig, man, he's going to have carte blanche to have himself a nice season. And you know what? If he doesn't, now there's no more questioning it. There's no more this or that. He had his window. You move on.
If you don't know, now you know. And BNS, I love analogies, so I'll take this a step further. He's driving a Ferrari, but if he's driving and he starts to swerve or hits a pothole or hits a curb or a pedestrian, let's say, you got to get him out of the driver's seat. You can't afford to wreck this car. And the car is the Broncos season, and who's in the back seat, helpless, biting their fingernails, are Vic Fangio and Pat Shermer. So he's going to get the opportunity, but if he is a bad driver, so to speak, I'm saying this as a Drew Lock fan, he deserves to be taken out of the driver's seat.
Amen. All right, guys, we got to wind her down here on tonight's episode of the Huddle Up podcast. One last thing, though, before we do dip on out, we just got to say thank you to our great super supporters over on Facebook, giving us stars, including these awesome supporters, starting with Gerald Hendy. We got Gary Leeds Palmer, Brad Murdoch, Dave Glassman, Travis Tarbox. Hey, guys, if we didn't get to a topic or question that you had, forgive us. Just know that support, it all adds up, and it keeps the lights on here at MHH and allows us to continue doing cool things over there on Facebook, video, podcast-wise. So shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. And, Zach, with that, dude, sign us off, bro.
You'll pull up the matters of business, but we will see you guys. We're going to take off tomorrow night, of course. We have Building the Broncos tomorrow night at 6 o'clock Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern. But be sure, before we get to our little sign-off, Follow the Huddle Up Pod at Huddle Up Pod. Follow the Mothership account at Mile High Huddle. Follow Chad, as you can see on the left side, or you could see before, at Chad and Jensen. Follow me at Kelberman NFL. Give John K, our producer, a follow at John K MHH. Guys, if you can, hit the merch store at huddleuppod.com. We would appreciate you perusing our store and picking up your piece of swag. If not, it's all good. We totally understand. Be sure, though. Be sure. Promise us you'll do this. Subscribe, like, and share. Helps us out tremendously. We appreciate it. It'll help us grow. We love all of you. Thank you for another great episode, Chad. Another great week of podcast. Upcoming Wednesday night schedule release show. Yep. A lot of news this week, a lot of news to break down. Hope maybe even a right tackle signing. Tomorrow is Tuesday. We're not podcasting, so I'm sure news will come out. But we will see you guys down on Wednesday night, 6 o'clock Mountain, 8 o'clock Eastern. Take care, and as always, go Broncos.